Biovision Forum here in Lyon. 1,200 attendees, more than 150 speakers. And here next to me, we have Joachim Hasenmaier, which is a member of the board of managing directors with responsibility of animal health in Boehringer Ingelheim.
That's correct.
Okay, that's correct. So tell us about you, first of all. How did you start and when did you start working for Boehringer Ingelheim?
Well, I'm with Boehringer now for 15 years, but
50 years?
15.
15.
I might be old, but not that old.
You don't look that old. That's why I was asking.
No, but I had a life before. I had a life before Boehringer. I grew up on a farm, became a veterinarian, got into science, got my PhD in microbiology, virology, and then decided to stay in the industry, work for the industry, got an MBA, and I'm working in the animal health industry now for 20 years.
The policy was close to your philosophy, with growing in a farm, being next to the animals.
Oh, I'm a big believer that you need to first fix the basics in life, and that I would say good, healthy food, and also knowing where good, healthy food comes from, and also health, human health, being protected from infectious diseases. I think people easily forget that this is not a given.
Well, that's exactly what you came for here in Lyon in the Biovision Forum, to talk about this concept of one health, one place. What is what is the main thing that the public should learn about this problematic of one health?
I think if you go back to the Middle Ages, there were many diseases, and actually starting with animals, with rats, that killed entire cities and villages because we didn't have any vaccines, any antibiotics, and the general public believes, today we're safe and somebody has a solution. But right now, I would say I don't want to paint any threat, but there are diseases out there that could spread to humans, SARS, influenza, and so on, and the minimum thing that we need to do is to be prepared.
But how can we be prepared to that?
Well, I think there is science. We always need to be aware of what are the current strains, the current threats. So what is around us, diagnostics, monitoring, knowing research. Is there a risk for animals? Is there a risk for spreading from animals to human? And in the worst case, if there is a risk, prepare for it. And ultimately, the first line of defense would be vaccines.
Yes, but are we prepared for that? Do we have enough vaccines to prepare the new threats?
Well, I think there is a tremendous effort of WHO, OIE, governments, and I would say there are many labs who do a great job. But I think what's also important that we create the link to, they will never invest in expensive manufacturing plants, for instance. And also, just to prevent a threat, we in the industry cannot build manufacturing plants and leave them empty and lose a lot of money. So that's why we have to come together somehow. And when there is when there is a need to, for instance, produce vaccines and stock them, in case an outbreak is, we need to have an agreement. So it's really all different partners need to work hand in hand.
That's what you're doing here in the Biovision. You're academics, expert, policies.
Absolutely.
So we heard yesterday many experts and academics who were saying that maybe we should not eat that much meat. Is that what you think? Is that the main problem?
We like. People like simple solutions. You're talking to somebody who grew up on a farm.
That's why I'm asking.
And all around me, also are many people who started eating lead meat. Do we need to increase our meat consumption and eat as much meat as the highest consumption countries in the world? No. But I truly believe that saying the risks come from, what I'm hearing in your question is these larger farms are a bigger risk. And I can tell you, if you look at the outbreaks, the hygiene and the control in these large farms is way better than in the backyards. If you look at the topics with avian influenza in the worst countries, it's the backyards and not the large commercial farms. It would be way too simplistic to say eat less meat, move back to natural agriculture, have a couple hens and a couple pigs. That is not the solution.
That is not. Oh, that is very interesting. And is it for you, what should be the main area of focusing of the health industry outlook?
Well, I think, first of all, we should have it on the radar screen. And as I said before, we as a company are willing to invest and play our part. One classical example is foot and mouth disease. It's not a disease that spreads to human, but it's very contagious for pigs and cattle. And if it outbreaks, the entire swine and cattle industry collapses. You cannot sell your meat, you cannot sell your animals, cannot move your animals, and it's a huge threat. In the majority of the world, or at least in US and in Europe, it's controlled and eradicated. But it's around us, all around the world, and it's very contagious. One outbreak can happen anytime. And you need to be prepared. And that's why we have a facility, we have products to prepare, but it's kind of an insurance. And how do you charge for an insurance premium? Do you stock vaccine in case it breaks out? And those are, if you're very short-minded, the ones who need insurance say, I don't need it now, I'm not willing to pay for it now.
But do you think there's a gap between what you are prepared as a laboratory, as a professional, and a gap between the public who maybe doesn't know, maybe there's less communication, maybe there's a gap between what we know and what you do?
I think there is a potential risk that people take that security that will cost something. You need to put resources in place. They take it for granted. And during times when things are calm, they are fine, not paying anything. But when there is an outbreak and when there is a risk of spreading to humans or a food poisoning, all of a sudden everybody cries, why didn't you do? And in the end, it's we have to take that as a joint responsibility and all do their parts and then have a strategy in place against what diseases do we protect how and what resources do we commit together.
And we should know more. Thank you, Joachim Hasenmaier, to be with us, and we'll see you at the closing session today for the One Health and One Place in Biovision 12th edition.
It was a great pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Many thanks. And next guest now after this jingle.